Hi, Kwaheri here, Leo Tunapika. Well, continuing with my April Cakeathon series, today I have an equally exciting and simple recipe for you. So think of those times you need cake to accompany maybe tea or coffee. Well, this is the recipe for you. A very simple lemon loaf and utterly delicious. Let's get to baking it. For the ingredients, we're going to need all-purpose flour, sugar, butter or margarine, eggs, baking powder and a pinch of salt, 2 lemons and vanilla essence. For the quantities, check the link in the description bar to my blog leotunapika.com. So now we're going to start mixing our cake. We'll start by mixing the dry ingredients. So we take the baking powder and the salt and we mix it with our flour. Give it a good mix so that everything is combined nicely. Then we set this aside. In a big bowl here, I'm going to add my fat. So you can work with either butter, unsalted butter, or margarine. Or you can even use oil. Oil will yield an even more moist cake. Then the sugar. I'm using my electric hand whisk. Just like what I said in the vanilla cake, if you missed that, I've linked it here. We're going to cream this until it's light in color and creamy. Be scraping off the sides so that all the sugar and the margarine are incorporated. So that's about 4 minutes, so 3 to 5 minutes of mixing. So now we're going to add in our egg one by one. I always encourage you to crack your eggs separately so that in case there's a bad egg, it doesn't spoil your butter and sugar mixture. You would not want that. So we mix in 1 egg at a time. So I've added my 3rd egg. Don't forget some vanilla. I'm using about a tablespoon of vanilla. Again, remember to scrape the sides. Finally, before folding in the flour, we're going to add our lemon zest. I love using these lemons. This one's here. They are very flavorful. I know they are a bit expensive, but they are totally worth it. They smell so amazing. They are very juicy. We're going to use the juice later. I'm using 2 lemons simply because I want this lemon loaf to live up to its name. So zest it. Oh, and another thing, whenever I'm working with the zest of something, I like zesting it into the thing that needs the zest, because the peel, the zest has some oils which have the flavor. So if there are any drippings of the oil, goes inside my mixture. So that's just something I like doing. So you're just getting the zest. Don't get the white part, the pith. That one tends to be bitter. Oh, and something else I forgot to mention. Just before I started this mixing, I preheated my oven about 175 to 180 degrees. So it's always good to preheat your oven just before you start your mixing, so that by the time you're done mixing, your oven is ready for your cake. Also, it doesn't matter when you add the zest. You can either add it when you're doing the butter and the sugar, when you're creaming them together. You can add it together with the eggs, or you can add it right now as I have. I'll keep aside my mixer, and then I just mix that in nicely. And now this part, we're going to fold in the flour. As you notice, this recipe does not have any liquid, does not have milk, does not have buttermilk. The cake isn't as moist as the other cakes, but there's something we'll do to it that will add to the moistness. So we're just folding in the flour mixture. So now our tin. I've cut out some greaseproof paper to put in my loaf pan. Reason being, when the when the cake will be in the tin, there's something we'll do to it, so we'll want to lift it from the tin as opposed to turning it over. Though even turning it over won't destroy the cake, but yeah, just being extra careful. And then I'm going to grease my tin. So this is a pastry brush with some margarine, then dusting with a little flour, shaking to cover everything. And now we put our paper. I had cut it prior. Just place it nicely inside my tin, and then now we put our cake batter inside our tin. So whenever you're baking something with a loaf tin, just know it will take much longer to bake, simply because you see the loaf tin doesn't have a large surface area as compared to like a round tin or a square tin. So this loaf will take anywhere between 45 to 60 minutes depending on the size, how your tin is. If it's narrower, it may take the 60 minutes. Yeah. And then now spread it throughout the tin with your spoon. As in, it smells lemony already. So when you're baking in such a tin, also ensure that the cake mixture does not go beyond 2/3 of the tin. Otherwise, it will mean the cake batter is too much and baking will be a hassle. If you're going to replicate this recipe for a round tin, let's say like an 8-inch or a 7-inch, just know the baking time will be around the 30-minute mark. So be sure to look out for that. But if you're using a loaf tin like I am, it will take longer. So here's my butter. I'm putting it in the oven, and as it's baking, we'll prepare some lemon syrup. So now I take my 2 lemons. I'm going to juice them. I like running them like this just to release all the juice. And then slice. Then using this juicer, what I'm making is a lemon syrup that I'll use to feed into our lemon loaf to add more lemon. As I've told you guys, I want this lemon loaf to be a lemon loaf. And you've noticed we've used zest, and now we're going to use the lemon juice. No artificial or synthetic flavorings. See, juice of 2 lemons. That's why I love these lemons. They're pretty juicy, and the lemon is tart, but not in a bitter way. Am I even making sense? Anyway, so there's the juice. Now I'll mix this juice with a syrup, a simple syrup. A simple syrup is just a solution made with equal parts water and equal parts sugar. But before I do that, I'm also going to make a glaze that I'll drizzle on top of my loaf. The glaze is not a must you make, but just it's decorative. So this is some icing sugar that I've sifted. Ensure you sift your icing sugar. That way it doesn't have any lumps. Then I'm going to put like a little bit of the lemon juice, then I'll add some water. So this is like maybe 1.5 tablespoons of the lemon juice. You want it to have a running consistency. I may just not need water. Oh yeah, I will. Then some water. Just mix everything. So we set that aside, and then back to our lemon juice. So I'm going to add a bit of the sugar syrup. So it will sweeten the lemon juice a bit. Here for the proportions, I would advise you go by taste. So let's... It's still very lemony. The sugar hasn't over thicken it, because as you see, this was concentrated lemon juice, so it's very strong, and I think I'll leave it at that, because remember the cake already has sugar, so we're not trying to add more sugar to it. All you're trying to do is just make the cake moist and more lemony. So there is my lemon syrup of sorts. So I'll set the two aside. My cake is still baking. Once it's baked, I'll show you what we'll do. So here's my cake straight from the oven. It's cracked a bit. Guess it was a bit too hot. But now, don't let it cool. Just let it stand for like 5 minutes. Then using a skewer. I don't have a skewer, so I'm using a toothpick. It's a clean toothpick. Poke holes. Ideally, the holes should get to the bottom, but now the toothpick is so short. So poke holes into your lemon loaf. Then remember the syrup. Bathe the cake in the syrup. And then now we'll allow it to cool completely when it's inside the tin. Now you see why we put this, so that we'll be able to lift it nicely. You'll end up not using the whole amount of syrup, so you'll just gauge depending on how your cake is soaking up. Like mine, don't use a lot, because then again we also don't want to over soak our cake. So I think that's about it. Yeah, so we'll let this cool completely, then we'll remove from the tin, finish off with our glaze, and we'll be ready to serve it with some tea. Our cake has cooled. Now time to remove it from the tin. So then remove the greaseproof paper. As I said, it's good to eat as it is, like this. You don't need to add the glaze, but I love going the extra mile. So take my glaze, then do this. So this you can do however you want. Gorgeous, looks so gorgeous. And then, just because, how shall they know it's a lemon loaf if it's not decorated with some lemon slices? So I'm slicing some lemon, then just putting it on top like so. And there's my lemon loaf. Look at it, look at it, look at it. So gorgeous. So I want to slice into it, take a piece, and yeah, I've made a lemon loaf. Excited. So now to give the cake a taste. Exactly what I envisioned when I thought about this recipe. A lemon loaf. It's so delicious. And if you're not bothered, if you couldn't be bothered with the syruping and with the glaze, it's totally fine. You can omit that. As I said, this is a good tea cake, so it's best enjoyed with a beverage. And yeah, and another thing about this recipe, you can adapt it for other things. For example, if you're not feeling like a lemon loaf, you can use orange zest to make an orange loaf. If you want to take your lemon loaf up a notch, you can add some blueberries into the mixture. So when you're adding the flour, when you're folding in the flour, fold in some blueberries to get some lemon blueberry loaf. You can add some poppy seeds, as you can see. Yeah, one recipe can do many things. And yeah, so to see the recipe, the method, all the written things in my blog, tunapika.com. The direct link is in the description bar. Otherwise, that's it. And if you're watching this and you've not yet subscribed, please subscribe. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really supports my channel. And that's it. For me, Kwaheri, Kwaheri. Hey, Kwaheri. It's so lemony. Wow. It's absolutely delicious.